Welcome to The Explainer. Today we are locking on to the ultimate gatekeeper of the Cambridge AS and A-level accounting exams. We're talking about the double entry system and the accounting equation. Now, look, I know what you might be thinking right off the bat. You're probably saying, come on, this is day one accounting stuff. I've got this. But as we really dig into the examiner reports today, you'll see that this critical topic is the absolute bedrock of the entire syllabus. It appears in every single examination series, without fail. Honestly, if you don't completely master the strategic architecture of this topic, the rest of your paper is just going to be an uphill battle. So let's quickly glance at our agenda for this session so we can reveal exactly what examiners are looking for. First up, core principles and objectives. Second, we'll map out the procedural framework. Third, we're going to tackle critical and comparative analysis. And fourth, we'll wrap up with top examiner warnings straight from the source. All right, let's jump right into section 1, core principles and objectives. Like I mentioned, this topic appears in literally every single examination series. It's inescapable. Yet year after year, candidates consistently bleed marks here. And you know why? Because they treat it like a basic memorization exercise. The syllabus actually emphasizes that top-performing students exhibit a connected, conceptual understanding. Rote memorization, just memorizing the formulas, won't save you when the exam throws a complex, high-tariff curveball at you. You really need an underlying, deep grasp of the accounting equation that transfers instantly to highly unfamiliar contexts. Which brings us to this absolutely critical question. Why do students find interpreting complex texts and data so incredibly hard during the actual exam? Well, the issue usually stems from a reliance on superficial breadth rather than analytical depth. When you only skim the surface of the double entry system, interpreting complex data feels like trying to decipher a foreign language while a countdown timer is ticking in your ear. To break through this barrier, you have to master distinct cognitive domains. And this is how you do it. Examiners are mapping your answers directly to 3 distinct assessment objectives, or cognitive domains. First up, knowledge and understanding, so AO1. Do you actually know the rules of double entry? Second is analysis, or AO2. Can you extract the exact right data from a really messy text or table and interpret the relationships? And third, evaluation, which is AO3. Can you draw solid, evidence-based conclusions from that data? To unlock those top-tier marking bands, you must demonstrate mastery across all 3 of these. Moving right along to section 2, the procedural framework. Now, pay close attention, because what's truly fascinating here is the method mark strategy. This is a literal game changer for your exam strategy. The Cambridge Assessment Framework heavily rewards your systematic processing. In plain terms, examiners want to reward your process, not just your final number. If you make a minor calculation error early on, which happens to the best of us, but you apply the correct double entry principles perfectly throughout the rest of your working, you can still salvage a massive amount of points through method marks. Now, before we break down exactly how to secure those points step by step, I want to quickly pause our session. If you are serious about unlocking these top-tier Cambridge exam strategies, hit that subscribe button for Ace the Exam's IGCSE O and A levels at acetheexam_IGCSE right now. Make sure you enable all notifications so you never miss our weekly breakthroughs. Okay, let's get back to it. So to systematically secure those method marks we just talked about, top-performing students strictly follow this exact standardized sequence. Step 1, you identify the key elements from the provided text and tables. Step 2, apply the relevant accounting principles. Step 3, execute your analysis with very clear, visible working. Step 4, verify your results. And Step 5, present it all in the appropriate format. If you make this sequence a rigid habit every time you practice, you are practically bulletproofing your exam responses. But listen. Just executing the math simply isn't enough. You have to adhere to these strict presentation conventions. The procedural framework absolutely demands proper headings, correct terminology, appropriate formats, and crystal clear annotation. If you're getting sloppy with your T accounts, or maybe you're using informal shorthand instead of the correct, rigorous terminology, you are just leaving easy marks on the table. Presentation proves your professional skills, and examiners grade accordingly. All right, let's shift gears into section 3, critical and comparative analysis. When an exam prompt hits you with a command word that requires comparative analysis, you have to be highly structured. Top-scoring comparative analysis absolutely must identify both similarities and differences. You can't just list facts side by side and hope the examiner figures it out. You have to actively use comparative connectives, words like whereas, similarly, or in contrast. And then you must support each of those comparisons with direct evidence extracted from the data, ultimately drawing a firm conclusion about their relative importance. To truly showcase that evaluative thinking, that critical AO3 domain we talked about earlier, you really must do these three things. First, question the assumptions hidden within the given scenario. Second, consider different business perspectives. And third, above all else, justify your accounting decisions with hard evidence derived directly from your double entry workings. This is how you prove to the examiner that you aren't just a human calculator. You are a highly strategic financial thinker. Finally, let's step into the examiner's playbook with Section 4, Top Examiner Warnings. Looking directly at the principal examiner reports, there is a massive trap that stands out. Candidates consistently confuse key terminology. The reports literally scream about this year after year. When you are writing an extended response, you must always define your terms right out of the gate. For instance, if the prompt asks you to discuss capital expenditure versus revenue expenditure within the context of the accounting equation, define them briefly before you dive into your analysis. It anchors your answer and locks in those easy points right away. Let's break down the top 3 fatal mistakes examiners see. Number 1, answers are just too vague. Examiners want specific details, not broad, sweeping generalizations. Number 2, forgetting to check format and presentation. We already discussed how vital those headings and clear annotations are. And number 3, which is perhaps the most critical, answers are not specific to the context given. If the question is about a manufacturing business, your evaluation must explicitly reference manufacturing operations, not just general accounting theory. Remember, context is king. Now, under immense exam pressure, all these rules can totally scramble in your mind. So here is a quick cognitive memory hack. Use a visual story method. Instead of just blindly memorizing debit the receiver, credit the giver, visualize the actual physical flow of goods or cash moving into and out of distinct buckets that represent your accounts. Systematically encoding these concepts visually makes them significantly easier to retrieve when that exam clock is ticking down. So I want to leave you with this provocative question today. Are you relying on superficial breadth, hoping to just scrape by on basic knowledge, or will you deploy the method mark strategy to secure those top-tier marks? The architecture of the exam is no longer a secret to you. It is time to take these structural insights, apply them rigorously to past paper questions, and start practicing with absolute precision. Crushing Cambridge exams requires consistent strategy. So hit that subscribe button for Ace the Exam's IGCSE O and A levels at acetheexam_IGCSE, turn on the notification bell so you catch all our future exam hacks, and drop a comment below right now with your exact target grade. See you in the next session.